This is Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and this podcast series is called Spiritual Immersion, Taking the Plunge. And the intention of these podcasts, as you've heard almost 100 times, is to support and empower you to be who you are, both as a spiritual being and as this human being, and to explore with curiosity and fascination, what is this? Who are you inside this experience? What is it like to be you? At one point, I think it was Ram Dass who was looking into somebody's eyes and said, I see you in there. It's like, who is in there? So the point of all of these podcasts is to support and empower you to be curious about who is in there. Over the last couple of podcasts, or few podcasts, I've been talking about the diminishing of suffering, the diminishing of pain, the diminishing of agony, and all of the ways that we've believed about ourselves, all of the beliefs we've thought about ourselves in terms of what we thought was true, our interpretations about ourselves and life. And we're coming to a place where we're beginning to see that if not some of it, if not all of it, in terms of our consensus reality, is actually false. And that we're learning how to cultivate the awareness and the capacity to move towards what's true, the highest truth, your truth. Quite often people will say, well, tell me, Rosie, what's the truth about me? Who am I? What do you see? And that's in a sense a way of deferring, as opposed to saying, I want to know who you think you are. I want to know your experience of you. I want you to come to trust that you know yourself and that you can act from trust and respect of who you are. That's what I would love to have you experience for yourself, is like trusting yourself, feeling safe with yourself, stable and secure, and not questioning your own capacity to know. And the capacity to, if you don't know, then do some research. You can ask people, what do you think? But it all comes down to not deferring yourself, not deferring your thoughts, beliefs, truths, needs, wants, feelings. Know what you know about yourself and trust that. That's the most important aspect, I think, of this work and the phrase know thyself is the most important thing, I think. Sorry, I'm scratching my eye, so starts to not think very well. I start not to think very well. So the last few podcasts I've been talking about the disidentification with that part that has suffered, that part that's been isolated, the part that's been separated, the part that's longing and missing and grieving and sad, and all the parts that are strategizing to attempt to maintain control when in fact there is no control, in a sense of there's no security really in the consensus view of reality, though we keep living as if there is and always constantly being fearful that it isn't. And that dilemma creates a lot of suffering. So as we move towards some place in this new paradigm where there isn't suffering, there isn't the struggle, there isn't the stories that we've told about ourselves in the world, about how terrible and horrible it is or how terrible and horrible you are, but getting to the point where we go, no, that doesn't even exist. That's not true anymore. Then there are these places where we're disidentified with that, but we're not yet we don't know yet what's what. And so there's this place of neutrality. There's this place of learning to be in a state of equilibrium. Equanimity is a beautiful word that describes this place where, for me, the way I would describe it is there's no suffering. And there's just this calm, this peace, this serenity, the tranquility of this, the isness of today, the isness of now. There's an anticipation or an expectation of something. And I think that part of this practice is learning and training ourselves little by little to bring reel ourselves back in, so we're more and more in the present moment. And I think in that place, we're much more content. And we're not attached, as I mentioned in the podcast, just previous podcast, we're not attached to so much. We don't have so many expectations. We're just in a place of neutrality. But in that state, I think of neutrality, or this is my experience, is that we're establishing new levels of qualities that haven't been that important. In a sense that, yes, discipline has been really important. Dedication, devotion has been really important to move to this degree of serenity and tranquility and acceptance. And then there's the next step. And there's a next level, I should say. We're up leveling constantly. And in this process, I've been speaking to a few people who have been in a state of numbness or don't know how to be in today because they're not feeling the suffering, but they don't yet know how to cultivate that place more easily of joy or bliss or those kinds of highest level of love, unconditional love. They haven't gotten there yet. And so there's these stages, I think, where we're learning things like patience. And patience in a different way where there's no waiting. There's no waiting. There's just this patience. We're building resilience for not falling back into old patterns, old habits, old belief systems, that we're holding our own. Excuse me. It's like, I don't know if you've never noticed when you have the hiccups, and you've had them for a while, and then they stop, but you're still anticipating that hiccup. And it's just a funny thing, like, where did that go? And it's the same thing sometimes with the karmic patterns that we've been living with, or the patternings of the beliefs that we've been living in, and how we've been shifting that and stopping so much of those patterns. And now there's another level of learning that seems more subtle. We don't even think about it. Levels of like I said, of patience and tolerance, the ability to surrender an element of myself I don't even know is existing. A friend of mine I mentioned in the last podcast broke her leg, and I've been helping her, and there's a part of me that's been kind of grumpy about that. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? And rather than seeing this grumpy part as unfinished business, it's like there's something that's being expressed here. And so being more tolerant of myself in that part of me that's grumpy, more accepting, surrendering that she's there and she has her expression of self. And I don't know what that's about, but I can be accepting and unconditionally allowing her to be that in me. So those things are, I find, much more subtle but so much more important than they've ever been. As I've been progressing through whatever accomplishments I've gone through, having a successful coaching practice, having books written and published, having many retreats that have been very positive and fulfilling, a lot of accomplishments. But this is a different level of accomplishing that isn't measured by money. It isn't measured by what other people think. It's measured only by what's occurring inside me, the level of peace, the way that I can cultivate peace for myself, the way that I cultivate a sense of safety, which is more important to me than I've ever imagined, to be able to say to myself, you're safe, you're safe. And in saying that, I'm allowed to rest. I find this ability to rest in myself more so than I've ever in my whole life in terms of feeling safe. So these are states of being that we're cultivating within ourselves, that's not attending to the consensus view of reality, not attending to accomplishments, but attending to a presence of being and a being in presence. And cultivating again this, what's the word I was looking for? I forget what the word I was looking for, but the ability to, I forget. So let's talk about something else. Not that word, it'll come. So if you're following me, which I hope you are, then you'll get that we're no longer dealing with letting go of karmic patterns. We're no longer dealing with the suffering. We're no longer struggling with those old patterns. We're now at a different level. Again, we're up leveling to a place where we're cultivating and practicing resilience is the word I was looking for. Resilience in this new way of being. And in being in this new paradigm that isn't comparing yourself against other people. You're not comparing yourself from who you were to who you are. There's no comparison anymore. There's just this isness of being. And in that isness then is more ability to express yourself now in this moment as you in your essential nature, because there's no consequence, right? There's no consequence, which is a beautifully phenomenal experience. There's no fear. You can just be you. I get to be me here doing these podcasts, making it up as I go, other than having a sense of this is what's true for me, is this level of practice in my spiritual immersion process. This is what's occurring. I'm seeing things differently, not in terms of, again, better or worse, right or wrong or anything like that. But it's just like, wow, this is really interesting. This is a playground for learning how to be patience and being, in the Rumi poem, there's a Rumi poem that says, one of the lines is, this is not going well. Let the beauty we love be what you do. Let the beauty we love be what you do. And for me, it's like, wow, how do we be the beauty that we love? How do we be that? And so that's a place that I'm curious, that I want to exercise that capacity to be the beauty that we love. And that's what I'm talking about. Being the patience, being the love, being the kindness, being the creativity, being the equanimity, being the resilience, those kinds of things. So it's a beautiful place to practice, and I'm getting more comfortable with that rather than being in the state of numbness or feeling rudderless, like, where am I going? Why am I doing this? Why am I not doing things? What's the heck's going on here? And going, oh yeah, I'm at this other stage that's kind of learning a new space, a new environment, a new everything. So that's what I have to offer to you guys tonight. I hope it wasn't too disjointed, but that's what it is sometimes. I have published my new book called I've Arrived. Well, sort of. And it's on Amazon, and it's also at Barnes & Nobles and other, any internet bookstore, and you can get it at your local bookstore too. They'll order it for you. So take a look at it. Also, if you're interested in some of my other books or my podcasts or blogs or videos, you can visit my website at theparadigmshifts.com. Theparadigmshifts.com. All right, that's it for tonight. Bye for now.